You're listening to the Run the Riot podcast, where we talk about all things ultra running. I'm your host, David Terrio, and man, I'm pumped that you are here. Let's see what we can get into today.
Yep.
All right, today on the Run the Riot podcast, we got Elliott Waldock. What's up, man?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on, man. Like I said before we started recording, Elliott's been he's been killing it. So we gotta visit, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
trying to stay alive. So
yeah. So I was looking through, and we have a picture together. We met in 2022,
May of 22. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was at Flower Moon, in Pawhuska, Oklahoma.
Yeah, that was an interesting race. I had a lot of issues there. So yeah,
you're not the only one, dude.
Yeah.
It was hot.
Yeah. I had what it ended up being was kind of a flare up of Achilles tendonitis is
really?
what the PT diagnosed it as. I thought my foot was broken. The last lap was just like every step, it was just like a burning hot sensation.
Not good.
And after no, I was it was a struggle. I got it done and drove back to Tulsa after the race, and then I didn't sleep like a single minute because my foot hurt so bad. I was all night long in the tub with ice, just trying to alleviate the pain, and it wouldn't go away. So I didn't sleep at all. I think that was my first. I think that was to date, or not to date, but up until that point, that was the longest I had stayed up without sleeping. It was like 48 hours or something like that, because it hurt so bad. So I wasn't gonna go to the hospital down there. So I flew home, and then the next day I went to the hospital. So that was that was interesting. But
so it just ended up being flared up.
It never had it. I didn't know what it was, because it was more in my foot, but it was just like where the Achilles kind of connected down through the foot, and I guess just pounding on your feet, it hurt more on the bottom of my foot than in my Achilles. But haven't had an issue like that with that Achilles since then. But it was it was new territory, and it was a new corridor in the pain cave for sure.
I for a 50 miler, man, I struggled on that one. I got super dehydrated.
Yeah.
Like bad. And that last, what were the loops are like 16 point something
ish. Yeah.
miles.
Somewhere in there. Yeah.
And, I was kind of sat down before I went out on that last one, and I was trying to get some fluids down, and, I saw a few people I know, and they saw me, and they were like, dang, he looked rough. And then when I finished, one of the first guys I saw was like, you went back out?
Yeah.
So I must have looked pretty bad.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the Walking Dead out there sometimes.
Yeah. I didn't run a whole lot on that last loop. It was a lot of
I was doing the 1 foot in front of the other for sure on that last lap. It was rough. That was great though. I mean, beautiful buckle, and it was the Indian tacos after the race were awesome. So
those are fantastic. It's a good race.
I loved it. It was awesome. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. So
yeah. So you are in North Dakota, right?
Yes, Western North Dakota. Born and raised. My chosen profession, I guess, farm and ranch, with my dad and my uncle, and then my W-2 job is I work for my local internet service provider. So we're just doing IT stuff. I supplement my life on the farm with a day job. So
nice.
I'm pretty busy. We actually just finished harvest on Monday, so that my running for the past like 6 to 8 weeks ish, it was pretty much just if I was hauling grain when we were hauling to the bins or to the elevator in town or wherever, I would just run laps around the truck while I was unloading it. So that was kind of just make sure I try to get my steps in, but for the last 6 or 8 weeks, the running has been pretty minimal. So, which has been okay. I mean, I had a big summer with the 200s, so being able to kind of like regroup and recalibrate. This was sort of the longest continuous break from running for me that I've had in like 4 years since I started running. So that I can kind of tell that my body needed it, but I'm super excited to get back out and start running super consistently again. So got to start getting ready for my next races. So
yeah. Well, so you've always like, this is kind of like, I don't know, say the family business. This is what you guys grown up doing, and you said it's grain.
Yeah, cereal grains. So like wheat, peas, durum, canola, stuff like that. We don't grow any corn here. People do, but we're not like Corn Belt, Kansas, Iowa type stuff. Like they're pretty much just like corn and soybeans, and we grow all sorts of stuff in North Dakota. So
cool. How many acres you guys forming?
Around 3,000 ish. So
nice.
It's a good size. It's enough to stay busy. So
yeah. No, that's pretty awesome. So in South Louisiana. I grew up on 4 acres we were surrounded by sugarcane fields.
Yeah.
And so I was always fascinated watching the farmers, and we'd always get stuck behind the tractors,
slow moving equipment.
Slow moving equipment on the roads and muddying up the roads when we're trying to get to school late and all that. Yeah.
But it's a good excuse. It's a good excuse for being late, like, oh yeah, I was stuck behind some equipment or something. Like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. That's and you so is that, what else is that your main you guys' main thing? Do you do anything animals or anything like that?
Yeah. Beef cattle. So Angus, black Angus, red Angus. Yeah. So we don't have a huge herd, about 80 pairs. So like cow calf pairs, around 80.
Nice.
So that's just kind of like another facet, I guess. That's more of a year-round thing rather than the grain farming, because it's winter here for most of the year, so that we're not growing a whole lot for 8-9 months out of the year. So
you got to have something to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I heard and this is I've never been to North Dakota, so
it's awesome.
I need to go visit, I guess.
We had a great race up here. So
what race?
It's called the Maah Daah Hey Trail Run. It's in the Badlands. So like the Theodore Roosevelt National Park in like the far western part of North Dakota, out in the Badlands. So super rugged, gets really hot. They do the 100-miler it's on the last weekend of July, which is like, it's the hottest weekend of the year. Like it gets really hot. So yeah, I volunteered this year at one of the aid stations. So I got to captain one of the aid stations. Pretty good buddies with the guys that put it on, and that was awesome. I had so much fun helping runners. Had a lot of friends doing their first 50-miler or doing their first 100-miler or whatever. So that was great. But man, you'd love that race. It's sneaky hard. Like I wouldn't call it a beginner's 100-miler for sure.
Yeah. Is that the one that's it's spelled kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. It's actually a Hidatsa word, Maah Daah Hey. It's 3 words, but the loose English translation is like a place that has been around for a long time, or like a place that will be around for forever, is kind of like the loose translation of it. I'm kind of butchering that, but that's kind of what it means.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous. Like the trail, it's all single track. It's like 155 miles point to point ish from top to bottom. So it's you can see all sorts of beautiful country and all sorts of critters, rattlesnakes and mountain lions and stuff like that. So
is it pretty, is it pretty hilly? Is it how's the elevation?
I think the point to point, the 155 miles, it's, I want to say like 17 or 19,000 or something like that. You'd have to fact check me on that. It's it's like rolling, you're kind of going up and down, up and down, up and down, and there's like stretches where it's kind of a long gradual uphill or a long gradual downhill or whatever, but there are a couple punchy climbs in there, and when you're when you're 125 miles into it, you're like, this is a long ways to the top. But
anything, dude, stepping up on a curb after that is like, this sucks.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. So I heard somebody, I don't remember where I heard this from, but I heard from a couple people that people from like, I don't know, like Alaska and like Canada, they said North Dakota, it gets stupid cold. Like there's something about the cold in North Dakota that's just ridiculous. Is that true? Like, is it?
Yeah.
And what is it? I know every time there's a dip, it hits right there, you know?
I think what hurts us the most is the wind. So it does get bitter cold, you know, where it's 30 below, 40 below ambient temperature, but then it's just, there's not a whole lot of trees, so there's a lot of wind. So like we don't get an insane amount of snow, but we get the wind with the snow. So, you know, you might only get a few inches of snow in the storm, but if the wind blows for like 3 days, you know, that's where you get like the 10-foot snow drifts and stuff like that. So, you know, if you lived in town, you know, one side of the block, they'll have a little tiny bit of snow, and then the other side, you know, you can walk up on the roof because the snow is built up so much. So that's kind of, it is very cold. I think the only place that I've been personally that I would say is colder in the winter would be like Saskatchewan, which is just farther north.
Yeah.
But up in Canada where it's the same terrain sort of, so you're just going farther north. So for me it felt cold, but I mean you can't feel it anyways because it's so cold you can't really tell. But
it's just cold. It's all cold.
Yeah. And that's kind of it's a help and a hindrance. So like I'm built for the cold, not for the heat. So, you know, some of those races where I felt super comfortable when people were like, you know, like teeth chattering. This year, you know, at Cocodona or Tahoe overnight, where it's like it got chilly, but not to me it wasn't.
That's my jam.
I felt pretty good once the sun went down. So for sure.
Nice. So you know, being out there in North Dakota, like, what started all this running? Like, were you a athlete in school? Did you run? Did you do?
In high school, I really disliked running. wasn't a runner. I quit track. Would have never dreamed of doing cross country. Like, dude, that's too far. Like, no way. That's ridiculous. So, I played football. I really enjoyed playing football. That was pretty much the extent of my sports. Super tiny school, so we didn't have we didn't have a lot of options for playing like organized team activities. You know, we didn't have baseball, we didn't have wrestling. We had basketball, football, and running. And that was it. And I'm not a good basketball player, so I played football. So that was it. And just running then was hard. Like I just doing, you know, laps at track or around the track for practice. I'm like, this is awful. Like I just super strongly dislike it. Yeah. And then, you know, you finish high school, fell out of doing like any type of fitness, you know, went to college, 2-year school, gained a ton of weight, the typical, you know, college experience, I guess, if you're not a student athlete.
Freshman 15,
it was like freshman 25. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And
I don't do nothing halfway.
We went all the way. They had a culinary program at the school I was at, so they had really good food. So that's nice. I'll chalk it up to that, I guess. But it took a while. I was probably like 20, I would say 24, 25 years old before I kind of started to like, all right, we gotta, you know, I can't be just doing nothing. Like I gotta try to do something. So started just back in the gym. I like lifting weights, so that was I didn't struggle at all getting into it. It was just kind of like thinking as far as finding like time to do it, and then just making the commitment to like, hey, you know, you doing it for yourself. So had a couple good years of doing the just calisthenics a lot, some weightlifting. You know, I have just like a super simple home gym, you know, dumbbells, kettlebells, bar with like a couple plates and stuff, like nothing crazy. But then one of my good buddies, Harrison, he comes along to tons of races with me, crews me at a lot of them, so he's kind of my Army of Two type thing when we're doing these races. We just kind of were looking for something hard to do for fitness, and Google, hard stuff to do. And I really hated running, and I'm like what's, something kind of in that vein, and, marathons obviously, but I'm like, there's got to be something that's like maybe, the a little bit different than just going to like a city and running around on some streets. And just came across Ultrarunning. I'm like, well, kind of what is this? And we found a race down in Arizona, the Pemberton 50K. That was in it was January of 2020. So right pre-COVID. And signed up for that in the fall. It was like October, November timeframe. So that was when I just first started getting into running, was like late 2019. And it was a struggle, kind of not knowing anything about running. I wasn't leveraging, the internet for knowledge. I wasn't listening to anything. I wasn't really looking at anything, didn't have a training plan or anything like that. It was just kind of like,
run.
just get out and run. And just built up slowly, mile at a time, like, ran a mile unbroken without stopping. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty awesome. Like, that was a long ways. And then, 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, worked up, and eventually made it down to Arizona, and ran that 50K completely out of my element. Jim Walmsley was there for like a training run type thing. So I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but everybody was like, oh wow, it's Jim, and know who he is now, obviously. I found out that day after the race who it was, but just kind of tempered my expectations immediately for future podium probabilities. So
I was just called on Jim's time for it. Jim finished in 2:49.
I was I had probably about 2 miles left in the first lap when he was finishing up. So he went past me like a race car, or it was cool. It was pretty awesome.
It's pretty wild when you see what they can do, and you're on the same course, and you're like, holy
man,
crud. Like,
when you can see the human potential is pretty awesome. So that was just completely inspiring, and just seeing anybody out there that's throwing down, whatever, if they're the last person or the first person, it's awesome to see every time. So got through that, and the bug bit me, and I was like, wow, this was like the coolest thing ever. It was extremely difficult. I was in a ton of pain.
I was gonna say, how much did you suffer, during it?
It was all suffering.
It was all the
farthest I had ran prior to that was 20 miles. So it was like, uncharted territory, and I'm like, wow, man, this is real. Like, that's 32 miles finished. I was like, dude, that was so far. Then, you come to find out, it's like, oh yeah, people go like substantially farther than this, way farther.
You're like, what?
And that was pretty much shortly after that. That was kind of where I dove in head first. I'm like, I signed up for a bunch of stuff. COVID happened, so it all got canceled. So then it was just I did a bunch of virtual stuff, like virtual 50Ks and whatnot. Worked pretty hard for the rest of that year, and was pretty happy with the progress that I made, and just kind of went from there. So then I signed up for a 50 miler, and then just kind of gradually built up from there. I might have done maybe 150, and then went up to like the 100K ish distance. Then just kind of gradually worked up to the 100 miler, and then got that. That was in 22 December, I think. Brazos Bend down in
December 21.
21. All right. So so it was, I guess it was about like 18 months after I first did my first one. Nice. I think it was something like that. So worked up, just consistent, just staying consistent, I think, is like, you're somebody that can't devote, like, I can't put 20 hours into training every week. Like, I I utilize the time that I have as efficiently as I can. And for me, I'm happy to be able to, get through races uninjured and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
But it's like, that would be that'd be the dream, if I had 25, 30 hours a week to just devote to training, is like, let's see what we could actually do. If I could really put together a super dialed in block for a long period of time for a race. And that day will come. I don't know if that's going to be in 10 years or when it'll happen, but or if it'll be when I retire, I have no idea. Like I'll get there eventually though. So that kind of, that's like sort of a driving thing to just, maintain that forward momentum. And that's kind of how it was for me, where, once I dove in, found all these awesome races and cool places, started meeting people, then you start to, look at those big races, the long distance stuff. Cause I think I was, foolishly optimistic about my abilities, I guess. And I was actually drawn for Tahoe last year. And they did that. They had to move the date because they had all that snow. They had like 800 inches of snow or whatever.
It was crazy.
And the timeline just didn't work out for me. The date that they moved it to, I think it was the the week before I had the Crazy Mountain 100 out in Montana. And I'm like, I knew I didn't have the ability to do that. Like I don't think I can do 200 miles, 40,000 feet. And then the following Saturday, go do 24,000 feet in 100 miles. I'm like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and then they gave you the like free deferral, there was no penalty to defer it. So then I just moved it to the next year. But that was after, Cocodona was opened in May. So I had already signed up for Cocodona. So that was how I got roped into doing both Cocodona and Tahoe this summer. So, which was cool. I mean, it was great. Yeah. I had a blast. It was a pretty awesome summer. So no complaints. Just, my body complained a lot at Tahoe, but, other than that, it was,
this rest time is good.
Yeah. Soak it in. Yeah, just for sure. Appreciate the little bit of time.
Yeah. Well, so you're doing these races. What like for your 100-milers, like just kind of rewind a little bit, like when you did like Brazos Bend and stuff, like what did your training look like for those? Did you start kind of like, as you kind of learned a little bit, you're like, all right, I got to start like figuring out a little more organized training plan? Or
I think my training, I would say, it's pretty consistent, I guess. Fall back on that word. Yeah. I'm not really doing anything super out of the norm. Back then when it was getting ready for the doing the 100-milers, it was monotonous. Like I was just doing, pretty much every day the same 7-ish mile loop. Like that was just a 5, 6, 7 days a week type thing, where I was just getting somewhere in that like 50-mile a week range. And that's kind of where I back then, where my body was happy. Like if I kind of was pushing it more than that, I just didn't have the physiological adaptations yet to where I could handle it. And I think that's something that's pretty important too for like somebody that's getting into it. It's like, don't just go jump off the deep end and try to start running, 100 miles a week. If you're coming from a not running background, which is where I was coming from. So I feel like
injured.
Yeah, it is a good way to, derail yourself. Cause if you can't, like, I guess I kind of follow the philosophy of if I can't do a workout a couple days in a row at that same intensity level, it's probably too much. Like if I'll go out for a run and then it just wrecks me and I'm unable to run the next day, or my perceived effort is extremely high the next day, I'm probably pushing it too hard. Like if I were to do that workout, 2 days in a row and then that shelves me for the rest of the week, like you just lost out on 5 days of training. So, just doing that little build up, a little bit at a time, it's worked better for me to stay relatively injury free. Like I haven't had any like massive hindrances to my training in the last 4 years. Like it's just been kind of a gradual, we're getting, we're getting 0.5% better a week or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's just a little bit at a time, working my way up. And I think that it's built a lot of confidence in me to where I know that if I'm keeping inside the realm of my ability as far as how often I'm racing or how hard I'm pushing in races, that I get to the start line and I feel pretty confident. Like I'm not super rattled. When the race gets hard, you hit mile 70 and you're not feeling great. It's like, I can draw back on training and say that, like, you put in the work consistently for a long time, like, that you can get there. You just have to troubleshoot and figure out what you need to do to get the job done. And that's kind of where I'm a like a mission based runner, where it's like, we're starting at point A. What do I have to do to get to point B? How far am I willing to go to get to point B? And I'm willing to go pretty far to get to point B. Like I haven't hit that that want to quit thing. Yeah.
That's
where
good.
it gets hard. Like in any race, 50K gets hard, so then you start talking about the 100-milers or farther than that. And it's like, man, there's so many moments where it's like, it would just be so easy to pull the plug, but it's, if I've already done 75% of the race and I were to call it quits, my pride wouldn't let me not do the race again. So then it's like, you already did 75%. So now you got to do 175% of the race to finish it one time. So it's like, you might as well just go through with it and finish it the one time and get that 100%. Like that's
do it.
Like, everybody's in pain, right? Like it hurts. And knowing, I think that helps mentality to where it's like, I don't want to say that I psych myself up for how bad it's going to be, but it's going to be hard.
It's reality. It's the reality. It's going to hit you. So you just got to prepare to deal with it.
And if you're mentally prepared for that, it makes it way easier to deal with. You can just kind of compartmentalize what you're going through in the moment and like, okay, I've been here before, or I think it's bad now, but in 10 miles it might be worse, but eventually it'll get better. That might not be till tomorrow, but it'll get better. So you just kind of got to keep pushing. So
Well, one of the things that you said a couple of times, I just want to point it out because, man, I kind of preach it. It's like consistency, and you don't, like, even if you can't do the big crazy, like you said, 20 hours a week or something, but if you're consistent and your body is constantly adapting, and if you do that, you'll grow, your body will grow, your body will get stronger, and it'll grow properly, and you'll get injured less, just all the things. And so, I mean, just maintaining consistency is huge. And so I try to, all the runners that I coach, and the other thing is funny because I have a couple runners that are going to be running Arkansas Traveler this next weekend. And I've been talking to them, and it's both of them. It's going to be there. Well, one of them, hopefully they'll both get their first buckle. One of them attempted already, and the other one is his first attempt. And I was like, all right, it's going to get hard. It's going to get really hard. And so let's decide now how you're going to react. Who are you going to be when it gets hard? Right. Are you going to be guy who pushes through, figures it out, and just keeps putting one foot in front of the other? Or are you going to quit? And so that's a huge lesson right there. And dude, that's a life lesson because life gets hard, bro.
It makes, I think it's translated very well into my day-to-day life where, it's, man, you have a stressful day at work or something breaks on the farm, and it's like, this stuff happens. Yeah. But, you just got to deal with it. You'll fix it today or you'll fix it tomorrow. Like it'll get better. You just have to not let it break you, and be able to appreciate, what you've done to get to where you're at right now, and kind of remember, that's in a way, it's kind of what you're there for, or what you signed up for, I think. Because if it was, if it was all awesome the entire time, like I probably wouldn't like it as much as I do. If it was just like, I don't want to throw around the word easy, but like, that's kind of how I look at it, to where I want it to be hard, but before you get to the race, that's where your level of hard is kind of determined, I think, where, if you're super satisfied with the level of work that you were able to put in to get to the start line, you can be satisfied when, you might not get your like a goal at the end, but you can still be proud of yourself or satisfied with the outcome, because you know that when you were out there training in the 100-degree super high humidity or the -30, blizzard weather, that you were still putting in the work. And, it might not have been that, perfect training block, but it was what you could do with the time that you had, and you can still be proud of where you've been and where you're going. So
it's kind of interesting, because there are some people that they'll do their first like 50K and you suffer. You're going to suffer the first time you do it. And there are some people that are like, okay, that's enough. I did it. I did the ultra, and that's enough. But then there's the rest of us.
Yeah, there's someone like me. Yeah,
it's like, that sucked. Well, let's go to Ultra sign up. Let's see what else we can do.
Those are my people for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you can if you can sit at the finish line and sign up for another race, like that's when you know that there's something wrong with you. And I've done it. Like I had it was the Hitchcock Experience 100-miler. The Sunday morning of that race was when the sign up went live for the Crazy Mountain 100, and I knew it was going to sell out, so I'm like, I have to sign up right away, like right now. So I didn't do it while I was running, but I was on the last lap, so I finished the race, and then I was sitting there drinking a beer, hanging out with my buddies at the finish line, and I was like, hopped on my phone and signed up for it right there. So it's like, that's you're good. Still, the pain is still extremely fresh, and you're dealing with all the pain, but you're already thinking that like, it wasn't that bad, like I can do this again. That's I think that's maybe that addictive personality. I think that that personality type is pretty strong in our sport, where people are they get really into the thing, and this is the thing. And I mean, it's your drug of choice, and it's really it's extremely accessible. You just hop on Ultra Sign Up and type in where you want to do, or how hard you want the race to be, or how long you want it to be, and then a big huge list pops up, and you pick the one that looks the best and give them your credit card info, and you're in. So,
and there's something about having, like, I don't know, it's like the carrot, like something about having it on the horizon. It just makes your training more intentional, more like, I gotta train. If I want to get this done. If I don't, and I'm suffering now in training, but I'm gonna suffer a lot more if I don't get the training done.
And that makes it really, really easy for me to train, because I don't think that that motivation is not gonna carry you through. You got to have like that dedication to stick to your plan, and know that if you have a set training plan, or you have a workout on the schedule, that you could skip it easy. Like, no one's gonna, if I don't want to get up, or if I don't want to work out or go for a run, like, there's literally nobody that's gonna tell me that I have to do it, right? So it's just me that I have to get it done, because I pretty much, for the last 4 years, I have had something on the schedule. So it's like, I have to train, and it doesn't matter if it's a year away. It's like, that I think about that sometimes, where, I was like day 3 at Cocodona, and I'm like, man, if I could have just like squeezed in a couple more long runs, like this would be so much easier. And it wouldn't, but it's like, you know, I had those types of thoughts. I'm like, man, I know I was super, super dialed in and consistent with my training. Like I wasn't missing any workouts. And I'm like, man, I wish that I could have done more, you know?
Yeah.
But still at the same time, super thankful and happy that I was able to stay committed and complete all the training that I wanted to for the race, so that when I showed up at the start line, I was like, yeah, we're ready to go. Like, let's get going. So some people just don't understand, because sometimes my wife's like, why don't you just sleep in? You went to bed late last night, or you're not feeling good. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm out. You know, I gotta out
do
the
this
door.
thing, man.
Yeah, we got work to do, and there's always work to do too. That's kind of the cool thing about it. Like, I mean, there's if you're happy with your mileage, you know, maybe you should be in the gym an extra day a week or something like that. Or for me, I think, you know, maybe I should be doing a little more speed work, like that type of stuff. It's like there's always a weakness that you could work on. And then the race, you know, do some different styles of races too. You know, if you race with a ton of vert, or a race that's extremely flat and fast, and like, you know, find out your weak points or see what you're good at or what you're not good at, and then work on that for the next race, or work on it during that race. And it's a fun puzzle that I, you know, haven't figured it out yet. Like I've never had the perfect race. Like I've never finished a race and been like, oh man, that went off without a hitch like that. You know, I didn't have any GI issues. I didn't have any foot issues. I didn't have any issues at all. Like it's never happened. It doesn't happen. So
I know. Even my fastest race in Kansas, Prairie Spirit, it went really well. Like my fastest time, and you know, and won it. And anyway, but like I was like, still a few things like I could have. I faded a little bit at the end, and anyway, it's hard. Like you want to celebrate it. You will celebrate because you do well,
for sure.
And it's good, and you finish. But there's always like, I think it's good to do that though, not to beat yourself up, but to say, I could probably tweak a few things.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. I think be proud of yourself, but like know that, you know, there's always improvements to make. And for me, it's like, you know, I'll get them next time. Like I'll run that race again, hopefully, and then, you know, hopefully do it a little bit better. Like that's a cool thing. And another thing that I'm thankful for is like, you know, I'm been staying healthy, and it's like, you know, if I want to, I could go do the race again and try to do better, or know that I could do better. And that's a nice little carrot there too, to where you're like, I think I could do better, or I know I could do better. And now what do I need to do, either in my training or my diet or lifestyle, to do better?
Well, so I was about to ask, so I know you said, you know, you run and you do some cross training, some weights and things like that. So you said diet. What kind of, just on a normal basis, before we get to the 200s and everything, like on a normal basis, training day to day, what kind of diet do you eat? What kind of food do you eat?
I would call it, you know, the classic seafood diet. Like if I see it, I'll eat it. I don't really have any restrictions on the stuff that I eat. High protein, I guess, would be the main thing. But I'm also, when I'm running more, definitely high carb, like a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of potatoes, you know, rice, stuff like that. And then just high protein. We've got chickens, so I got a lot of eggs. So that's it's easy for me to eat a lot of eggs.
My mother-in-law has a bunch of chickens, so I can get a lot of eggs. I eat a lot of eggs.
No, that's a easy protein source.
Man.
And with the farm raised chickens, you know, if it's like that's a brand new egg, so I don't really feel any reservations about just plopping it raw in the protein shake. Like it doesn't bother me at all. So, you know, that's, you get that quick protein where you throw, you know, I'll throw 3 in there if I'm feeling it. But
that's old school, man. That's like Rocky Balboa, bro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's with you got the protein powder in there too to cover up fix the flavor a little bit. I'm not a plain snot guy too much. Yeah, no.
I did that one time as a kid. I saw Rocky do it, and I was like, yes, and I did it, and I was like, that was disgusting.
No, I did that one time after football practice, and that was the last time. So it's been 15 years for me. So not into that. But nothing crazy. And not not to knock on any chosen diet, where different things work well for different people. I know there's a lot of people that do great on, a low carb, high fat diet.
If it works.
Or a lot of people that are on a plant-based diet and they can excel on that. And yeah, I think for me, just maintaining protein is literally my only concern. Just trying to maintain that on a day-to-day basis, especially on if I got like a big week coming up or I'm recovering from a big week, just maintaining. Maintaining. I mean, I can definitely just tell in my recovery, like if I'm slacking, where that I think that's for me, for my body works great for me. So
I do the same thing. Like when I get back from a run or the gym, it's a protein shake right away, and then high protein during the day out. No matter no matter how I'm eating, if I'm doing the low carb, high fat for a while or anything else, protein stays high. So during like when you were running your 100 milers, what are you fueling with? What do you find works for you during a race? What are you fueling with?
What I think I've come to find out is the real food stuff works best for me. Okay. So, if that's, your, like your soups or like sandwiches or whatever they got at the aid station, if I can bag up a couple sandwiches or something to take with me, or, if I'm carrying like bars or things like that. I haven't ran into a gel that gives me a lot of GI issues. Like I haven't tried all of them, but the stuff that I've had, like nothing has ever like hit me during a race where I'm like, wow, that was a terrible choice. Like I haven't had that happen yet.
That's good.
Yeah. When I'm doing like the, carbohydrate drink mix, I really like the Martin stuff. That works really well for me. I find that, it sits easy in my stomach, and it kind of even settles my stomach a little bit if I'm not feeling great. Super expensive, so that's kind of kind of a bummer. But it works, so that's kind of where it's like, if it's 25% more expensive than the next one, but it works for me 100% of the time, it's probably worth the investment, I guess. And then doing the electrolyte mix during races, I'll do like the element sticks. I really like those just because the little sachet is, it's perfect. You can just tuck a couple in your vest and you're good to go. So if you're on a long section and you have a non-crude aid station or something like that, it's like, oh yeah, I got it with me, and you can just pop it and throw it in another bottle and you're good to go. So when I'm not running, I just mix my own. I just make my own electrolyte mix. I
think you have a video on YouTube of that.
Yeah, on my YouTube channel. I think that's like my best video, or it's got the most views on my channel.
I saw it. I was like, that's pretty good because I get a lot of stuff from those the bulk supplement stuff. I get different things from them, and so like I was like, that's a good idea.
It's so cheap.
Just squirt some Mio in it.
You can do anything for flavor in it. Like I don't mind the salty taste, so I just throw it in water plain, and I'm good. But that if there was a short of putting it like in a little Ziploc bag and carrying it with you, it's just easier for me. Race day, you got the flavor with it in the element, pick whichever flavor and run with it. Like I love those things. So there's all sorts of different ones too. Like I'm kind of always shopping around and trying different stuff too. But for the electrolytes, I'd say it's the element. And then for like a sports nutrition type thing, it's probably mostly Martin for the carbohydrate drink mix. But these big races that have the, full kitchen, that's awesome. That's great. Dude. Like it's great.
Yeah. So let's transition. So you said the first 200 miler you signed up for was the Tahoe, right?
Technically, yeah.
I know it's not the first one you did. So I just want to say that was the first one I signed up for. There was something about it when I saw it. I had never been to Tahoe.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, and so I was so like, there's something about it drew me, and I made a deal with my wife. I said, if I don't get in the Western States this year, can I do Tahoe? And she said, yeah. And I was like, so that morning watching the lottery and it didn't do my name. I was like, you said I could. I signed up. Right. I was like, right away, man.
Yeah.
And I just, man, so for me, it was, that place is just amazing. I loved it. And I hate for y'all didn't get to circumnavigate.
No.
Hopefully, man, you got to go back and do that.
When I'm going to wait until they're actually back to it, because that was just sort of a carrot that they kind of dangled, like every month or two, they would send that email like, oh, we haven't heard back yet from the Forest Service about if we could do it or not. And from a logistics standpoint, I mean, it's got to be so much easier having us do the two little out and backs, less aid stations and stuff like that, less stuff to just, logistics are just easier. So I imagine it's a lot less stressful. But yeah, when they go back to the loop, I'll be back in the lottery 100%. So that was a great race. I loved it.
It's a beautiful area. It's amazing. And
the trails are the trails are substantially easier than Cocodona too.
Yeah. So let's you shared how you end up doing both of those in the same summer. So tell me about Cocodona, man. So you did hundreds up until this point, and then you're jumping into your first foray into more than 100 is 250 miles Cocodona, and then it's hot. Part of it's hot, like and you're Mr. Cool, man. So
I'm the cold weather guy. So
how did you get? Were you like, I don't know? Did you what? I was saying, were you scared? Because you probably should have been like scared or fearful enough to like get you training, I gotta do something.
So I'll wind it back. So I was entered into Tahoe, and then they moved it.
Yep.
But I had built up fitness for that, and I didn't want to waste it. So the same weekend that I would have done Tahoe last summer, I went out and I did the whole Maah Daah Hey. So I went out to Western North Dakota and I ran that 155 miles point to point.
Yeah.
So that was that was it was the same time frame, like it was the same weekend.
Yeah.
So I knew that it's not the same thing. Like it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, low land, no elevation. You didn't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I had a ton of familiarity with the trail. I ran it before, the opposite direction, but still spent tons of time out on the trail. So I'm like in kind of my backyard basically. So that wasn't, I didn't have a ton of unknowns, but I was able to complete that 155 miles the same time that I would have done, the 200. And I finished the 150. And I said, right when I finished, I'm like, there's no way I could have done 50 more miles. Like I couldn't, I'm like, there's no way. Like that was so hard. Got it done. Felt great about it. I was happy with my time. Everything was great about it. Didn't have a lot of issues doing it, to be honest. Like I didn't have any like real huge hiccups. Got lost a couple times, which was super uncool, but that would have helped me out for my time. But, that just let me know, hey, you got a year till the next go around, there's work to do. So super easy to stay motivated that whole rest of the year. And then it was like, hey, you have Cocodona in 10 months or whatever it would be, or 11 months or something like that. So it's like, yeah, we got to work. So it was really, it was really easy throughout the rest of 23 to start dialing it up and then dialing it in to where, this year, January 1 hit and it's like, hey, it's coming right up, and time goes by so fast where, May rolled around super, super quick. And I'm like, holy crap. Like we're here now.
Yeah.
So still, I was still scared, like not scared as far as, can I finish this? Cause I thought that I could, I was at the start line and I'm like, yeah, this is, heart rate's elevated, but was honestly mostly fear of God type thing with that initial day where, you're doing the long stretch with no aid station. It's hot. It's a ton of climbing. It's really exposed. And it is the hardest part of the race too. So it's like, you survive day one and then you're it's not easy after that.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
But you kind of hit the crux of the race right away. So
Yeah.
that was definitely a confidence builder to where, I was able to hit that first crude aid station at Crown King. And I'm like, oh yeah, I made it. I was battered and severely dehydrated. They had at the mile 25 water drop, somebody came through and stole like half the water. So instead of being able to get your allotted liter of water, you could only take half a liter.
Oh man.
And it's from a company called Nashville Packs. They're kind of like a cottage company. They make sort of custom packs.
I have a friend that uses those for FKTs. Yeah.
Yeah. I had their smaller, which is still huge, pack for that first day. And I had two 1 liter smart water bottles in the front, and then a 3 liter in the back, Hydro Pack, I think it was. And then either 1 or 2 bottles of Mountain Dew that I threw in there too.
Yeah.
And it was all gone. I was out. And it was rough. Like they had, at that last water drop, there was a little slough or frog pond where there was some dingy water, and I had a filter. There was a bunch of people were there. We were all filtering water, and a guy gave me a couple of tablets too. So I filtered and threw some tabs in, and I had 1 more flask of water to get up to that first aid station at mile 32. And then you had another 4-ish mile stretch to get to the first crude aid station at like 37 or something like that.
Yeah.
And hit that mile 32 war zone. Everybody's because
bodies everywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, at that point in time, I was, back third of the pack or wherever I was at in the flow. But everybody that was there was just hurting. It was it was rough. So got through that. And then I'm a big night runner. I really like running at night. Everybody's scared. I just like it.
Just go.
It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
That's maybe it's cold. And then I don't have to think about, looking, oh man, I have to get to that peak over there or whatever it is. You just go. You're just
right
the
there.
trail.
Right where you can see.
I have to run 10 feet ahead of me and just keep doing that for the next 6 hours or 8 hours or whatever. So mentally, I love running at night. And I do all my training alone. So that also makes it really easy to when you're all by yourself at night.
Yeah.
So I can just kind of push through the night with that carrot of the sun coming up next day, fresh start, keep going. So, I know for me, Cocodona, day 1 was tough. And then I think day 2 was the hardest for me because I was kind of suffering from those residual effects of kind of being dehydrated on day 1.
Yeah.
So I think I didn't quite make as much progress on day 2 as I had wanted to or planned on. But as the race went on, I started feeling better. And then I started feeling stronger. So like Wednesday rolled around and I kept pushing. Both I had just for the first few days of the race, it was just my buddy Harrison there crewing me. So he was just going to those crude aid stations and I was meeting up with him. But my brother flew down from Canada and he met me in Sedona. So that's like mile 160 something. So that was Thursday morning. And then my sister flew in. And then she was the first aid station that she was at was Fort Tuthill, which was like 210 or something. So I kind of had a couple carrots there for that last like couple days of the race. And that was such a big confidence booster, not confidence. It was such a big mood booster to where like, oh yeah, I get to see my siblings and seeing my brother was great. It was awesome. He was there, right. It was 5 o'clock in the morning or something. The sun's coming up in Sedona. It's super beautiful. And then I get to see him and Harrison again. And it's like, oh man, this is awesome. Just pushed me through that whole Thursday. Like I think I covered the most miles in a day on Thursday. So that was like my best mileage day. So then that was just kind of that boost to where Friday rolled around and I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to finish this like in daylight. Like we'll push through and get it done. because I know you had Nico on the pod, and he talked about when he lost his phone.
Yeah.
I didn't know who that guy was, but I saw, I saw a dude, going the opposite direction, and he asked,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he asked, he was like, hey, have you seen a phone? Like, no, I haven't.
That's
and,
crazy. That's funny. Yeah.
Got to the aid station, and that was 227 or 228 or something like that for mileage.
Yeah.
And that was my last like long nap. So I crawled in the back of the car, and then I know while I was sleeping, somebody brought the phone or something, because I know when I woke up there was people at the aid station were talking about it. So that's kind of when I listened to the pod for that,
You're
I'm like, oh hey, like I know that guy.
I was there.
Yeah. I saw that guy, but
that's cool.
Yeah, no, that was it was super far removed from like any type of race that I had done before. Like just the that many days out there was such a different experience mentally. Like just you hit that whole another plane of existence, I guess. Like you're having that out of body experience on day 4 where it's like you don't know what's going on, everything. It maybe
you got to keep moving. Just
it's just
you're
like
there, present.
We're going that way.
Yeah.
And man,
hopefully we're going that way.
hopefully we're going the right way.
That's right.
Yeah, that was like it's just so much different. It feels so much different than doing 100 miler even. Like the 100 miler now, I haven't done 100 since, I just kind of finished here this summer, so I haven't done any races yet, but I almost feel like that's not enough time for me to kind of like really get into that whole like finding new parts of yourself where, that problem solving, that, being positive when you don't want to be positive, or being able to meet other people or help other people. It's like you don't have enough time to do that in a 100 miler. It's like you just get one night. You're just out there, you'll be done tomorrow. It's like, that's the still a super, super long ways. Yeah. But it's just such a different experience. Like the time out there, it's just it's a whole nother animal.
It is. And you've got to plan 100 miler. You can do, you don't plan to sleep or anything like that.
Yeah, no.
You go do 250 miles or 200, or you've got to figure something out. Did you plan to rest, some rest ahead of time, or you just figured you just kind of do it when you needed it?
I did it. I had my first couple sleeps planned out, and it didn't work. Like that was something that I needed to work on, which you don't know until you know, right?
Exactly.
And what I discovered worked the best for me is just sleep immediately. Like when you're tired, just lay down. Yeah. Like right there. And I implemented that at Tahoe to where I slept. I tried sleeping twice in the car and then once at an aid station. And I slept for about an hour at the aid station. It was like day 3, I think. Yeah. And my best, most restful sleeps were like 10-minute trail naps, to where, I just set the timer on my phone, find a beautiful spot, Lake Tahoe, nice overlook. Yeah. And I'm like, this is great. And you just, kick back, throw the pack behind your head, and, just close your eyes and wake up in 10 minutes. And then I would feel so much better than when I'm just laying there feeling defeated because I can't sleep. You're just like laying there for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. And it's like, man, nothing's happening. So I struggled a lot with sleep at both races. I haven't figured that out. So it's just, for me, that's kind of where I'm like, hey man, next 200, let's try to work on that and dial it in and have better sleep, better ideas. Cause I think what would have helped me out at Cocodona a lot better would have been to sleep that first night. Like I should have slept the first night, where I pushed it through to the next afternoon. Yeah. So, it was 36 hours or something like that. I should have slept at like 18 hours or 20 hours or something, because I was tired. Yeah. And I'm like, we'll just supplement that with caffeine and we'll just keep going. Yeah. And that's kind of another thing too that I always try to do for my races is, cut out caffeine 10 days, 2 weeks before the race. Yeah. So then once you start supplementing that in while you're out there running, it actually makes, a noticeable difference. So
it's funny. It's funny, the whole sleep thing, because like when I first did Tahoe, I really didn't plan any kind of sleep, and I ended up wasting a lot of time when I should have just got on the trail and taken a nap, because those 10-minute naps, it's hard to explain to even sometimes 5 minutes. You wake up and pop up and you're good, But for Moab, I planned. Do you do spreadsheets or anything like that?
I have. I'll print off the race manual.
Okay,
and for those 200s, it's like, biblically thick, right? Like it's like 60 pages or whatever. I'll make notes. I'll make notes in there.
Okay.
So I'll put the little piece of colored tape in there or whatever, and then highlight things and write notes and stuff like that. But I'm not. I do too much Excel stuff, so I'm like, no,
okay,
we're not.
I ain't doing that for you. Yeah. Well, I planned like 3 hours of sleep a night, but so the first night I lay down and I fell asleep. Like if I wouldn't have fallen asleep, I was like, if I don't fall, like kind of the same thing. If I don't fall asleep, I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
And so I lay down, I crashed, but 45 minutes, I popped up and I was like, I'm good. Time to go. And then, and then the next night I ended up sleeping like 2 hours and I popped up and I was like, I'm good. And then the next night the alarm woke me up 3 hours. I was
right.
I was like, it just gets progressively.
15 more minutes. Yeah. Yes. Just hit the snooze button. But and that's so much different for everybody, because that's kind of like, man, number one, I can't imagine the pace of the guys up at the front, where they can get through with sleeping for 30 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it is, but they're just cooking the entire time. So it's like,
it's just
when I'm like in my head, I could probably stay up for 2.5 days. Like, if I had to, like, I probably could do that. It would suck really bad, but I could probably do it. But then for me, it's like, 4 or 5 days. Like, no, we're gonna, you have to sleep. So unless you're, one of the elites, like, sleep is definitely, it's part of the equation. And my opinion, maybe the biggest part in those 200s, it might be like, it's kind of a war of attrition where you're trying to just stop the battery from hitting zero. You gotta just add a couple percent whenever you can, and if it's that trail nap, use that. If it's at an aid station on a cot, use it, like whatever works for you. And that's where I'm kind of excited. I got, I have my eye. I'm on the wait list for Cocodona next year, so I'm really hoping that I can get. It'd be so awesome to get back into it. Got buddies that I've met out there at Cocodona that are there on the wait list too, and like I have friends that are already in it. I'm like, man, I gotta get back out there. And then and then I'm doing like from your pod with Nico, I'm doing Summit 200 next year. So that's,
I saw that, man.
I'm pretty stoked for that. So that'll be. I imagine it's going to be extremely challenging, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that one's kind of like on my radar. If I can get my knee happy, man, because I love Colorado. I love the mountains there, awesome. And this looks like two. Yeah.
It looks epic. Like I'm stoked. I'm already, it's coming up already. Gotta think about it.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this. You just got to be careful after you start running 200s. Sometimes you go, like I went to 100 afterwards, and you like kind of don't respect the distance. It was a hard 100 and end up like kicking my tail, like just beat. So like you just got to, because they're still hard.
I mean, objectively harder. You're moving faster. You're pushing. Your effort is so much higher, right? Like where you don't. If you're doing even out at Cocodona, where they have the Sedona Canyons 125, like you have a long time to do that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, if you were somebody that was maybe concerned about being able to meet a 32-hour cutoff in a 100-miler, like maybe just look at that Sedona Canyons 125, because I think you start on Wednesday and then you have until Saturday to finish it. So it's man, that's the barrier to entry is a lot lower for that. It's a lot farther, but I mean, you got that extra marathon there at the end. Yeah. But still, like if you're somebody that's maybe one of those back of the packers that just wants that experience of like doing the 100+ distance, like I would say that's an awesome, could be an awesome route for somebody to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So evidently you fell in love with the 200s from what I'm seeing and doing. Yeah. Cause it's such a cool experience and everything. Yeah. So, as you're moving forward, are you thinking like, so you said Summit, you want to go back to Cocodona, or I mean, are you thinking Bigfoot? What's other races that you just like, you want to get get to in the next few years?
I mean, definitely, I would say 100% certainty. If I don't get off the wait list for Cocodona for 2025, I'll sign up, once that live stream kicks off on day one of the race, like I'll sign up day one to do it in 26, like for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, Monster 300, that looks pretty awesome.
What Moab?
Yeah, Moab's right there. It's September 27th. It's in a couple weeks coming up. I got a big project at work that I'm working on. If I can kind of make some good headway on that, I'm hoping to maybe get out there for some volunteering. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like I really want to do it, but then I have commitments here, so I'm not quite sure if I can make it happen. I kind of don't think that they're gonna turn you away if you signed up for it last minute. Like,
right.
The week of, like, hey, do you need a volunteer? Like, yeah, they'll probably need a volunteer.
Put you somewhere.
Yeah. So that one, that's for sure on a to do. Like Moab for sure.
Awesome.
I think seeing when I saw West Plate's Moab video in 2020 on YouTube, I think that was kind of what bit me for like the 200s. So where I'm like, man, I got to do this, and so that race, like, watched all the YouTube videos of it. I'm like, yeah, that one looks pretty epic. Doing Bigfoot for me would be extremely challenging just due to the time of year that it is. It's right during harvest. So like getting away, I mean, it'll be one of those races that I do when I'm like 60, honest. Like it'll be in a long time. I mean, unless I hit the lottery and I can hire out some custom guys to do all the work for me when I'm gone for a week. But yeah, that one will be tough.
Nice.
And then we've got races popping up all the time. There's the Divide up in Canada. You got Oregon 200, which got canceled, I think, this year because of the fires. But
that one looks great. They all look so good, dude.
Nah, that's the thing. I'm like, man, I don't have, I've only got so much money and so much time, and then there's still so many hundreds that I want to do too. And it's like, man, if a guy wanted to, you could race pretty consistently, like, for years to come, where it's like, if you can swing it physically to where you're comfortable doing maybe a race every 2-3 weeks in the summer, like, man, you'd be busy for a long time,
physically and financially.
Because it's that's another thing too, where I'm blessed that I can afford to do these things too, because it's not cheap. So
that's travel and everything else too. It just it adds up.
And that's kind of another thing too, where I kind of do it as cheap as I can. I've got a little old Prius that I drive out to the races, and then I car camp as much as I can in there. I'll still get the hotel room for after the race, or maybe even on the way down to wherever I'm going. If I was driving out to Tahoe or driving down to Arizona or whatever. But I think there's too many races for one guy to do. It's like that. So it's exciting. I am looking at some hundreds for next year, and hey, if I don't get into Cocodona, like, how many of these are going to be waitlisted, or how many will still be open registration? You could just literally throw a bunch of races in a hat and pick one out and be totally happy. I think there's so many great RDs, and you never meet people at races that aren't awesome. So it's like, go meet some new folks, and you make a bunch of friends, and just keep this party rolling. Like, it's just that's what it is for me. It's so awesome to meet people, go new places, do hard things, and just keep doing that for as long as I can. So
well, so I noticed. I'm guessing you wear Speedland shoes. You got the Speedland hat going on there.
I'm actually on their ambassador team for this year. So
they look fantastic. I haven't tried on a pair yet.
I was wearing them before I got on the ambassador team, so I was like, dude, they work for me, for my foot type, my foot style. The fit is awesome. I'm really happy with the performance. They're great. The team's been awesome. Met so many cool people. Had first encounters with guys on the team out at Cocodona. They were sponsoring the race, so got to meet a bunch of. We had a handful of us out there, guys and gals that were running the race. Again, out at Tahoe, you know, it's been great. I've really enjoyed it, and then the product has been super awesome. I'm really happy with, for me, like the durability is there. They last so long, where it's like, you know, every shoe now is really expensive. So like they've got a premium price tag, but you get so many miles out of them. It's like, man, I would have gone through X amount of pairs of my other shoes, or like I've trashed shoes in 100 miler, you know,
same.
like I've started with a pair of shoes that have 25 miles on them and finished, and I'm like, these are toast, like they're done. And I haven't ran into that with the Speedlands yet, where they're just they've been pretty stout for me, and for my style of foot, they've been awesome. So even if I wasn't on the team, I'd be wearing them.
That's cool. That's cool. What kind of GPS watch are you wearing?
This is the Coros Vertix 2.
Okay. Yeah.
The big dog.
Got one of those.
I really like it. I probably like the size of the Apex a little better. Like it's so big.
Yeah,
like,
it's big,
I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
But when I first got it, I was like, dude, who put this anvil on my arm? Like what? I thought
bicep workout.
No, I thought I was going to end up with about an inch bigger bicep on my left hand for like, man, we're doing a lot of, you're doing a lot of running. I'm like, dude, this thing is huge.
Yeah.
But no, it's been great. I like it a lot. Not sponsored to say that, but it's worked for me. It's been a good investment. I've had it for a while.
It's a great watch, and I've used mine for a while. I've been testing the past couple of weeks. When they're looking at advertising, probably going to be advertising them on the podcast or whatever. But it's a Maze Fit T-Rex 3, and I don't know. The screen's bright. The battery didn't last quite as long as the Coros. Like
I don't think anything does
for daily wear, but it'll last. It'll last like 100. It's rated for 100 and something hours for a race on the lower GPS mode. It's like it's pretty fantastic, and it's about half the price.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing where I've learned that where you kind of get what you pay for some of that. Where if you're buying a premium product and you can get some premium results out of it, it's like it's some of that's worth it. Where I don't see too many people with Apple Watches out doing 200 milers. So
you'd have to charge it a lot.
Yeah.
And so, do you wear, like, what pack are you wearing when you're not wearing the, what's the one you told me you were wearing for the
Nashville?
Yeah. What normal pack do you wear?
Ultraspire Zygos 5.
Nice. Yeah, fantastic. Yes,
it's great. It's great. I have two of them. The one I literally just wore it. I wear it for hundreds too. Like I'm like, I don't need to spend a bunch of money on packs where it's like, it's kind of got a big backpack, but it just has nothing in it, so it doesn't bother me.
They're pretty lightweight, standalone.
I don't even notice it. And then I have a big Bronco. Not as big of a fan of the fit on that. The cowboy collar thing kind of reminds me of the cowboy collar, like with shoulder pads for football. And it just doesn't. I don't know if just the way that my huge noggin, I guess, it's like hitting the back of my head sometimes when I'm running, and it's just I don't like it. So
I got one, but I've tried it on, and I kind of felt it.
Yeah.
But I haven't tried it yet, like with something in it, to see if it would. So I haven't tried. Yeah. I like the way it feels, other than that thing hit my head when I just put it on. So I don't know. I'll see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see how it goes.
Because I think if I had a 1.5 liter bladder in there, pushing on it, you'd probably get that little extra space. But when I wore it, it was during a 100 miler, and I just had a couple bladders up in the front, and I had the Zygos with me, and I wore it for like a lap or whatever it was. I don't even remember what race it was, but I'm like, like nothing wrong with it. It was just like it was annoying, is what it was. Where I'm like, that thing just kind of hitting you in the back of the head. I'm like, nah, we'll go to the Old Faithful and we're good to go.
Gotcha. Cool, man. Okay, so we got the pack, we got the shoes, we got the watch. I think that's about it, man. We already talked about nutrition and stuff like that, man.
Yeah.
But dude, so like, I'm glad we got to visit though, because you've been really kicking it, and I'm looking forward to, like, I don't know, I'll be following you along if I'm not there too at Summit and all the other. No,
hopefully running. Well, there's room for you at Summit, so I know. I think they said they're gonna go up to 75, but they for sure won't go to more than 100 entrants for next year. Like I think it was a permitting thing. Like they will not go over 100. But dude, there's only like 25, 30 people in it right now.
Yeah, there's 25 right now. Okay, I have to talk to Chase.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, man. Hey, it's me. Yeah. No, so, dude, that'd be awesome.
No, I just, if I can keep if my knee is healed up good and everything, and I can keep it going, that's the thing. I don't want to, but that's perfect timing for me too. Summer's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see. Hopefully we'll get to share some miles, dude.
Yeah, dude, that'd be great. I'd love it. I'd love it.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm going to be, no matter what you're doing, isn't it great that we can, like, these 200s now, like, we can follow along on a lot of them, like Cocodona and stuff, like
for family and stuff, dude. It's so great. Like that,
family, I don't even have, like, I just watch it, dude. It's just with the drones and everything else. It's fun, man.
That was getting like live stream at Cocodona was crazy. That was awesome. I know that, I had a bunch of people from work and family and stuff that they're texting you and like, hey, I saw you on YouTube. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, that's awesome.
That's cool.
I know I hopped on the chat a couple times, I was like, while I was out there, I'm like, man, it's really cold out. And or whatever. Right. Like, but yeah, no, dude, that's so cool. The increased exposure, you got Starlinks and stuff now where they can get connectivity at remote aid stations and stuff. Like it really, I think that kind of makes some of those like safety concerns a little bit lessened for some of those races. That's cool. I think that's really cool.
Well, it's kind of cool because, like, when I first ran Tahoe, and then like people following dots, and now they could like watch, and, like, maybe see me, like, where's he at? Oh, they're showing that aid station.
Yeah. They got the still camera set up at the aid station because I know that was the end of Cocodona. It was me and my buddy Harrison. He paced me for that last section climbing up over Mount Eldon. And they just had the still camera set up there just pointing where the people were at. And we got to that aid station at the top and they had Coors Light up there. And I was like, dude, I'll take a beer. So then, there was just, we were chilling there at the aid station up on top of the mountain, chugging a beer. And I was like, oh, hey, they got a camera. And then a bunch of us turned around and then we were all waving at the camera and stuff. So it was super fun. That's awesome. Yeah. I think that's super great.
Well, dude, I'm a fan. I'll be watching, and like I said, hopefully I'll be there too. But hey, keep it up, dude. And
man, thank you.
Go run some more, and we'll kick this back again and hear about those races.
We'll loop it back in a year or something like that for sure.
All right. Well, you take care, Elliott. I'll talk to you soon,
you
brother.
Thank you.